Cavan Valance. How are you, buddy?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on, Baker. I'm pumped. We've been trying to plan this for what, a year now?
Yeah, like a year and a half. Yeah.
Yeah.
It feels like every time that we kind of talk about it, you've got something major going on and you're navigating this. I mean, both of us, I feel like half our conversations are like venting about business stuff going on in your life or my life, and then half the time it's like crazy ideas that we're trying to like workshop, and then it's just crazy things that are happening in our personal lives or trips or whatever. So I'm glad we were able to kind of set aside these next couple of hours I think we have blocked off to just kind of chat and really just catch up.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you nailed it. It's with what you do and what I do, what I've been through, what you're going through. There's never the right time. So I'm glad we finally just plugged it in on the calendar. It said yes. And then there's so much to talk about with everything that we've been through. But I'm just pumped to be here. I love what you're doing with the podcast and with work. So excited to get into it today and,
Yeah.
share a little bit about what I've got going on.
Yeah. I'm excited as well, man. I want to kind of start out. I want to talk a little bit about your kind of personal journey. And kind of what you did, because I think that a lot of times starting out with, especially in an entrepreneur's perspective, starting out with what kind of initially turned you down the path in the fitness realm a lot of times has some sort of downward effect into like where somebody's at. So at one point you were 300 pounds plus, correct?
Yeah, this was back in 2008. I was at my top weight of just around 300 pounds. And I was, young. When I was younger, I played sports, went to the gym, did all those things. And then you lose your way. And when, a year goes by, another year goes by, you look in the mirror, you don't even recognize who you are. You're shopping for pants. And when there's a 4 on the waist size, and it's the first number, you kind of question a lot about what decisions you've made. So back then, I blew up to 300 pounds. I was eating fast food every day. I wasn't going to the gym. I wasn't even going to class in college anymore. Just kind of playing in my band and smoking cigarettes and drinking every night and doing drugs. And I was a young kid, I was 22
Yeah.
years old. I was like, oh, I'm invincible. Like, I'll be okay. And then you look at yourself in a photo and you're like, oh, I have these man boobs and this belly. And like, I carried the weight well because I'm a big human. But at the end of the day,
Yeah.
I wasn't healthy. And if I continued down that path, I mean, I don't even know where I'd be today, and I don't want to think about that. But that's when it comes to my weight and personal journey, I think in the relationship to fighting this entrepreneurial battle of not knowing what's going to happen every day and planning for the worst, and fighting through and celebrating the little wins along the way. That personal journey helps me get through the what could appear in the moment as this really big deal. Um,
Yeah.
and I've been able to fight through it on my own, whether it be losing weight, which I think is one of the easiest things that I've done now, looking back on it. Losing my father along the way, uh, having a very terrible end of a long-term relationship, like these battles that we fight personally, emotionally, spiritually, you know, they help me kind of stay cool, calm, and collected under pressure when it comes to the business side of things, because none
Yeah.
of it's that big of a deal. If you can figure it out for yourself, you can, zoom out on your work and kind of fight those battles as well.
What do you I have this thing that I kind of talk about called I just call it the equation, right? Like I don't have a cool fancy name for it, but I just think it's everything, so I just call it like the equation. For me, it was at a young age, right? Um, kind of putting in a lot of extra time and work into just high school basketball, right? Super simple thing, but I just worked really hard at it. My dad was always like buying these kind of digital programs, and he would give me like flash drives, which is kind of like dating the I don't know if that dates my dad or kind of like where our household was at that time, but he would give me these flash drives that were just like, hey, here's a ton of like drills and stuff that I bought, and he would buy them for like $50, and I've for the longest time I kind of like rejected, like, why are you giving me a flash drive, dad? Like it's a lot. I have to freaking plug this into a computer and I have to go in and I have to watch all these videos. So I rejected it for so long, and then finally I was like, you know what? I want to be better at basketball. Let's give this a shot. And so then I started like downloading them to my phone and like understanding, okay, here's the programming, here's how I'm gonna do this. Here's what my summer's going to look like, and then in season, 5 a.m. every morning, like, let's get in the gym, let's go. I'm going to need a rebounder. Let's get a teammate. Like, let's get an underclassman. Like, we need some rebounding. Um, and so I put in a ton of extra work, like my junior and senior year. And, what do you know? Hard work and dedication over time, hard work and consistency over time really equals results. Like, I got better. And so for me, it was like that subconscious. I didn't realize it at the time how big of a kind of link I was making at that point in my brain, but it started to kind of spill over into everything else, whether that was business, whether that was schoolwork, whether that was, different kind of like professional things that I was pursuing with internships or whatever. I kind of started to realize like, oh, I just need to go hard on this thing for a consistent amount of time, and then I'm going to see results. And like, do you think whenever you kind of made that, I guess, choice to not be the 300-pound version of yourself, how do you think that affected your viewpoint on just life in general after that?
So there was a certain set of events that needed to take place for me to actually have a perspective on where I was in my life to help make that shift. It was Thanksgiving, and everybody was at my parents' house, and I have a large family. I have 9 cousins. My mom is one of five. My dad's one of five. So there was a ton of people there,
Hmm.
and at that time, I was not in a good space mentally, and I drank too much, and it was probably noon that day, and my dad and I got into an argument. And from what I remember, he probably was just telling me to slow down and stop drinking. We have a full day ahead of us. And at that point, I threw basically a tantrum and ran outside. And I was so angry. And the reason why I was so angry, because I had been unhappy for a very long time at that point. My body, my grades, where I was going to school. I didn't see where I was going, and I just stuffed down my emotions and didn't talk about it or deal with it. I just kept leaning into these vices to numb it, and that was the tipping point where I ran outside, throwing this tantrum, and I punched a hole in my own car's rear window. And there I am, bloodied arm. They heard the crash because my house isn't that big. So everybody heard. I walked to the backyard, and then I just break down. I start crying in front of my whole family. Really low, the lowest point for me. Um, and I'm sure my cousins were shocked or scared. And, my dad was angry, and he was probably just like pacing, trying to figure out what to say. My aunt comes up to me. She goes, "Look, do any of us look like we haven't dealt with something before? Because you just fucked up." And I don't think she dropped the F bomb, but that's kind of how I heard it. She was like, "You just
Yeah.
messed up so badly." And then she followed that up saying, like, "You have a decision to make right now. Like, right now, you have a decision to make. You can change and build a life that you want to live, or you can keep going down this path. Like, regardless, we're going to love you either way. But know that we've all fought our own battles, and we've gotten to this point because we looked ahead to move forward and see that happen." And that hit, for whatever reason, in that moment at my lowest, I needed to hear exactly those words. So when you say hard work plus consistency equals results, I think absolutely. But if you don't have vision and foresight to where it is that you want to go and who is it you want to be, then what are you working towards? And how many
Yeah.
times do you second guess yourself along the way? So what I add in is vision, or why do you want to do this? Right? Why did you want to get better at basketball? Probably because you
Hmm.
love it. And when you started to
Yeah.
see the results, you said, "Oh, I guess I can just do more of this and I'll continue to get better." And I wish I could tell you that, oh, the next day I went to the gym and I stopped smoking cigarettes and doing drugs and drinking alcohol. Like, no, it didn't happen overnight. But then something else happened in my life where my dad, the person that I got into an argument with, who, he passed away 11 years ago. But he
Hmm.
was, he was, he was awesome. I love him every day dearly still. He was taking my sister on a college tour, and he could talk to a wall, my dad. Um, but they bumped into the men's lacrosse coach and he said, "Hey, I'm taking over the team. I'm building a new team. Do you know any men that are, want to transfer and play? Like, we, can set up scholarships, this, that, and the other thing." And my dad, being my dad, said, "Oh, my sons play lacrosse." I hadn't played lacrosse in like 2 years because I graduated and I was on this like downward spiral. But regardless, he set up an interview and we went, and they wanted nothing to do with me. They're
Hmm.
like, "You're too fat and your grades are too bad. Like, you're too dumb." because I had a 1.5 GPA at that point. Like I didn't go to class. And my brother was going to study in Australia the next semester. So I said, just watch. I'm going to turn this around. So the next semester, I went to community college and I got all A's. My grades went from a 1.5 to a 3.5. I went to the gym every single day. In the first 3 months, I lost 40 pounds. And then I met with the assistant coach and one of the players on the team who came to my hometown because they live nearby to have me like sign the final piece of paperwork because my grades were good. You know, they said, let's see what your weight is. Are we going to be able to use you? They didn't even recognize me when they walked into the Starbucks where we met. So I share this because I had a vision of like, okay, I need to change. And then I had a goal. So I had direction. If I do this, if I do X, then I'll be able to do Y, right? I
Yep.
loved playing lacrosse as a kid. I played from third grade until high school. And then I just didn't have direction. I'm the oldest. I didn't know what to do with college. Went to a school where I commuted, went to music school. It wasn't what I thought it was going to be. Didn't work out the way I wanted. Whatever, like life happens. But now I had a direction to do something I knew I was really good at one point, and I could get back. So similar to your story, I got a workout program. I got skills and drills work to do. Started eating better. Wasn't great. I mean, I bought into a lot of that, supplement store, like buy this fat burner and this pre-workout. Like,
Yeah,
who
yeah, yeah.
do it?
Who
Like,
didn't?
right. They got us. They got us all.
Hmm.
And every week there's a new one to buy.
Yes.
So
Still.
regardless, I was able to walk onto that team. And at the end of that first season, I became captain of that team and was on captain on that team for 2 more years. And I think that's like after that's what helped me lose the weight, but then actually having the responsibility of maintaining that weight and continuing to get better. I continued to lose weight and build more muscle and become more athletic and more performance based in college while graduating with honors a couple of years later.
That's
So
awesome.
yeah, I love your hard work plus consistency. I just think having a why or a vision gives you something to lean on when things don't go your way. Because I'm curious if any of that, and you were young, right? You didn't say floppy disk. You said, do you know what a floppy disk is? Am I dating
Yeah, I
my?
do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was that was, I mean, we had a very outdated just school in general. So we were taught what a floppy disk was, like pretty sure probably a couple years after everyone else stopped using them. That was like a part of our curriculum that we were learning, and like, here's a floppy disk. This is what this looks like.
Got it.
Um,
But
so
I'm sure you
that's
had
just,
moments along the way where you didn't want to go practice, or you had doubt. Maybe you did. Maybe you just didn't go that day, but you
yep.
probably didn't feel as good, especially if you played a game in the next week and you're like, "Oh, I didn't play as well as I wanted to."
Hmm.
So when you start to realize those things at a young age or at any age, the ability for you to be more consistent and disciplined happens. You don't need as much motivation. I was motivated to do it in the beginning. I was like, I'm going to get into the school to say F you to this coach for not wanting me in the first place. But if he said yes in the first place, I guarantee you I wouldn't have charged hard.
Hmm.
But we need to deal with those little moments of adversity. And the way we do that, and I truly believe, is like if you zoom out on your life and see like a clear cut path of where it is that you want to be, what's the first thing I need to do today to take one step closer to get there?
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's a lot of things there to kind of dissect. It sounds like for you, the turning point was a few different things, right? It was that conversation with your dad, the early conversation with your dad. It was I think you said your aunt kind of like shaking you a little bit and being like, "Hey, wake up." And then it was wanting to prove naysayers, or I don't want to say haters because it was like a coach and your dad and like a couple other family members, but wanting to prove people wrong, like where you had kind of, you wanted to defy them and their expectations of you. What would you say that's accurate?
Yeah, and I think the last part is proof to myself that I could.
Yeah.
I didn't have, I mean, I had a goal to get healthy and I had started going to the gym loosely and I started to not drink as much. And I did stop doing drugs, but I didn't have this mission to accomplish something very specific that was attainable. And then I did. And then I built off of that as life went forward.
Yeah. So this is something I've always been really interested in, is like, how do people wake up, right? Because the just implicitly, the way that you had a conversation with someone who kind of shook you a little bit, right? And then you also had that, but you also had that just native internal drive to, somebody doesn't believe in me that I can do this thing, instead of letting that be like, man, I probably can't do that thing. They're probably right. Like, you had some sort of internal thing that told you you should go try to prove that person wrong or prove yourself right, like you said. Like, I feel like a lot of people hear those types of things and it does shut them down and it stops them, right? And a lot of people never actually look in the mirror and say, like, oh, maybe I'm not meant to be 300 pounds. Maybe I'm not meant to be broke, right? And they never end up turning the, how do you get the self awareness? Or do you just believe that's something that people are born with?
I think everybody is capable of achieving that moment. And I say moment because all it takes is one decision to move you in a direction where you can earn confidence along the way.
Hmm.
Because if you don't know, you don't lose 100 pounds overnight. You may not lose 1 pound overnight.
Yeah.
But the goal is like, if I look at everything in my life right now and I put it on a column on one side of the page and I say, like, I hate this about myself. I have no confidence. I'm overweight. I'm not athletic anymore. My skin is worse. I'm not sleeping well. I'm snoring. My relationships are suffering. I'm second guessing all these things that I want to say. Like, I think most people can write that down, and that's a very difficult exercise. Then on the other side of the page, you write down everything that you desire, even if you don't think it's achievable. Now we have the dichotomy of where we believe we are and where it is that we want to be. So I challenge people to erase this. Imagine this didn't exist. And I'm going to get into some like quantum physics here.
Yeah.
Like, we as human beings base every decision innately through our emotions, right? What has happened. And the more times that something happens, the stronger hold that emotion has on us. So like, if we think something, then we feel it. And if we feel it, then, it resonates with us for a longer period of time and becomes a mood and a temperament, etc. And that eventually becomes a belief. So we need to break those beliefs. And the reason that the way we break those beliefs is by setting up, okay, this is the vision of where it is that I want to be. Because instead of basing off of everything off of our current set of circumstances or our past, which is a part of who we are, we can start to look forward to see who it is that we desire to become and think on, if I want to lose 100 pounds, what's one thing I need to change to get there? For an example. And if this is where, when I coach people, we have conversations through this,
Yeah.
because it's not as easy as like, these are your macros and this is your workout plan and this is your schedule. Like, life happens, and it has happened. So if I can have a conversation and it's as per the individual, to connect with them, to think through, well, why do we feel this way right now? What has happened in your past to get to this point, right? What
Yeah.
now is it we can do in this moment on your worst day to take one step forward, to make one good decision, to check that box, to put a W in the win column, to pat yourself on the back, to smile, because now we can start to build on that. And that's where so I do think everybody has the innate ability to find that fire within them. However, to understand how to light it, I really need to understand where someone's coming from, what they have been through, how that weighs on them today, what's going on in their life, to take a step forward to see where it is that they want to go. So I don't know if that answered your question or not, but that's kind of.
No, it does. It's something that I've talked about quite a bit on the podcast. Is, even though love or hate his views, Andrew Tate, I really do like how he talks about like the Matrix, right? Like waking people up from the Matrix. I think it's just such a great, metaphor or analogy. I never know what the different parts of speech are actually called, but um, I think it is such a good kind of illustration of I've seen people wake up, right, around me, and then kind of like push for more in life, or even just start to ask questions. And I always give the example of my roommate Tucker. Before I got married, I lived with one of my best friends, and uh, I went to him one day and I was like, "Hey, I think I'm gonna do 75 hard at the beginning of the year. If you wanna join me for it." And he's like, "What is that?" And I kind of like laid it out for him. And at that point, he was like drinking and partying, and not really. He would be in the gym for 6 weeks and then be out for 3 months, and like he was just kind of all over the place. And I laid it out for him, and he was like, "Dude, if you have 12 months before you get married. If you ruin our time together where we can actually hang out and just bro out before you leave and go get married," he was like, "I'll never forgive you." That's what he told me. Like actual anger. He told me that. And I was like, "Okay, man, like whatever. Like I'm gonna do it. Like it's up to you." And he kind of something happened the next day to him, but where he kind of he had started to make comments to me because he would see me like wake up in the morning. At that point, I was going into my office in the house, and I would print out orders to fulfill orders from like whatever I got the day before for my equipment company. And then I would pack the orders up. I would go to the post office. I dropped them off at the post office. Then I'd go to the office and work with Mike on like his marketing agency. And I'd help Mike out with his marketing agency until 5, 6, 7 p.m. And then I would go to the gym, and then I would come home, and then I would go back into the office, fulfill any more orders that might have came in at that point, work on kind of any of my own stuff, my own coaching company. And he'd be like, "Why? You seem like excited to do this. It seems like you work a lot." I'm like, "Yeah, well, I'm building some cool stuff that I'm." And he would just start to ask me questions like, "Why do you measure out your food? Like, what does that do? Like, what are you putting in that app?" And then I'd start to be like, "Well, these are called macros, and like this is what they mean, and this is why I measure it so that I can get accurate macros, and they equal calories." And so he kind of start to get curious. But then, anyways, we have the 75 hard conversation, and then the next day, he kind of asked me. He's like, "Dude, I'll do the 75 hard thing, but I want to like try it first. So, I know we're gonna do it at the beginning of the year, but can we just do 14 days up until Thanksgiving just to see like what it is?" And so I'm like, "Cool. Like that's extra days because I'm gonna do the whole thing come New Year, but like let's just dive in." I knew better than to like deter him whenever he was open to the idea. So we did 14 days of 75 hard just for him to give it a trial run before, we actually started it. And I kind of saw like a switch in him at that point, and he was like excited to like, go to the gym, and he was excited for the new year when we would do it. And then after 75 hard, I saw him really challenge and go to a different zone. He was not near as insecure anymore. He was extremely confident. He was showing up better in all of his relationships. The dude has ran one ultra marathon, three full marathons, like three or four half marathons. He's got another ultra marathon planned for the end of this year. Like absolute animal now. And it was just because he opened himself up to doing a hard thing one time. And I just saw like just a switch flipped. Like he's not been the same guy since. And so ever since then, I've always asked myself, like, what is it? Proximity? Do people need proximity to see someone else and just kind of be able to get curious about it? Is there a certain framework? Like, is there something we can kind of like push everybody into to wake them all up in mass? Like, I don't know. I've just always wondered about that concept, I guess.
Well, kudos to your friend for doing it. I can't wait for the day that he asks you to run a marathon because I would love to see that.
But yeah, I
Uh,
mean, he asked me to, it was one of the coolest things I ever got to do. He asked me to pace him for his ultra marathon. And I
nice.
wasn't a runner. And I was like, who am I to turn this guy down? And went and paced him 10 miles overnight for his last 10 miles of his ultra. He ran
That's
50, I ran 10. And I think I was just as sore as he was the next day.
Yeah, I bet that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really cool. But to answer your question, yeah, I think you are who you surround yourself with, and us being very much so involved in the fitness lifestyle, the wellness lifestyle, overall health. We're still the minority. And you live
Yeah.
in
We're the
Texas,
weirdos.
yeah, you see it every day. I live in Florida, I see it every day. Um, but a goal and what we did really well with Hidden Summit when that was growing and peaking was surround like-minded individuals, meaning that they had similar obstacles that they wanted to face with one another in a setting that allowed them to then start to absorb these new ways of thinking, to question, wake up, what it is that they have been doing to try something new. And a lot of them did it in silence. Many of them were outspoken and posted and shared about it. But the group was a safe space for people to do that together. And that's when I saw, like, okay, cool, like the power of community, even if they're coming in and they're at different places in their journey, is super important for others, like whether they're later in a season and things have changed in their lives or just getting started, to actually try something new. And I believe the other half of what you said was like, how we think through it. And I think that the more people like you and I can have those one-on-one conversations and be present and open to someone who's interested in learning, it's not about demanding that they do it a certain way, but encouraging them to try something that is different from what they're currently doing. Because generation after generation, and the whole health system is royally turned upside down with
Yeah.
how we're supposed to eat and train. And I think something is always better than nothing, right? So,
Hmm.
if your friend or one of my clients, the first thing they did was like take cheese off their burgers to help save a couple calories in the first week, like that's a huge win. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, but there are people out there who's like, no, you got to hit your macros perfectly. Like, it doesn't work that way. And if it does, it's
Yeah.
not going to last a long time because most people are going to crash and burn. And I'm not talking about the outliers who can just show up and be a robot. Like, great for them, but that's not the majority of people.
Correct.
But yeah, I think that's why with the I know we'll get into it in a little bit, but the book that's I'm releasing next month is how do you create a system for where you are in this season of life based off of your beliefs, your thoughts, your current circumstances, what happened in your past, where it is you want to be in your future, and then how do we lean into mindset, nutrition, movement, and recovery today so we can build that earned confidence and create momentum to then create that space to say like, oh, maybe I can do more, or I can be more intentional, because more is not always better, but more intentional based off of where we see ourselves going is going to yield a faster result.
Yeah. No, I love that. I'm very, very excited for the book. I think it's going to be amazing for you. I think it's going to be amazing for a lot of people. I want to talk about the confidence. Hormozy talks about having like that stack of undeniable proof that you are who you say you are. I don't think, not everybody that listens to this, most people won't know kind of like your background, right? Hopping on and listening to this, they've kind of heard some of your personal background. People don't know that you actually built and scaled a 7-figure online coaching business, or that was even built out of the necessity of like building this in-person training kind of conglomerate that you had built, and then COVID and all of those things forcing you online, and then scaling that to 7 figures. So why don't we kind of like, I guess, summarize that, because I think that adds a lot of kind of value to like, oh, this guy's worked with hundreds, if not thousands of people in this situation. And that's why, you have the confidence or the knowledge or the whatever you want to call it, gusto to write this book on this topic.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, um, I've worked a career in retail before I got into health and wellness. And my first health and wellness gig, yes, I was a part-time CrossFit coach, but I ran a spinning studio. Not a lot of people know
Yeah.
that.
I
Yeah,
didn't know that.
yeah, I opened up a spinning studio. I never taught a class. I wasn't that guy, but I
Yeah.
ran the business side of it, and we grew. We were the newest studio, and then we became the most profitable studio in the first 6 months in the city. And at that time, that's when my friends who owned the gym that I worked at for 5, 6 years asked me to come on full time, and that was a dream job for me. Look, oh, I
Yeah.
get to work out and be in a CrossFit gym all day and help people every single day. Like, and it's around the corner from my house, so I don't have to commute on the subway anymore. Let's go.
Hmm.
And that was really fun. Those were great years. A lot of great workouts, amazing transformations. Learned a lot about business and marketing, and working with one-on-one clients because we help them with their nutrition and transformations, not just the training. I learned so much about programming and over programming, and trying to optimize programming for the many types of humans that walked into our what was at 1.6 different facilities in New York City. And then COVID happened. and I wasn't working. Like we tried to do
Yeah.
the whole online thing, but credit to the coaches that worked at the gyms, the clients wanted to follow them and they were trying to run their own online classes so they can make a couple more bucks since we couldn't host classes
In
uh,
person.
in person. So it was difficult to take all these locations and bring them into one group. But we did find a core group of people that would show up to the workout programs and the classes that we did and the webinars that we hosted weekly. And then I got furloughed. They didn't have any more money to pay me. So they wanted me to come back. This was roughly September. They wanted me to come back in October, but like I said before, everything happens for a reason. And if you can see anything that happens as an opportunity, then you're more likely to question that opportunity in a way where, okay, if I do this, what is the upside? And if I don't do this, like what is the downside slash upside, right? Compare and contrast. I'll pause there for a second and I'll go back. There were many, as much as I loved working for my friends, I was managing the gyms, I didn't own the gyms. There were several times, like any job that you work for somebody else, where you go home and you bitch and complain about how things are being run and the hours that you're working and like the effort that you're putting in, and whether it be, and we'd have conversations along the way. So it was like ups and downs and ups and downs. But I looked at those moments and I said, like, well, what if I didn't have to deal with those moments again? And what if there were people who wanted to work with me?
Hmm.
What could I do with this? So go back a couple months before COVID happened in New York. That was March of 2020. This was September of 2019. My brother approaches me and he's like, hey, do you want to start a little side hustle where we can coach some more clients on fitness and nutrition and mindset? Because he's always been very much so into helping people think clearly. And he knew that I lost 100 pounds and I helped all of these clients at the gyms and I knew what I was doing when it came to programming. And I believed in thinking through difficult situations to make the better decision to move yourself forward. So it was a win-win. So we had no idea what we were doing, but we were like, yeah, let's start a business. So we LLC'd and then did nothing with the business for a
Yeah.
bit. And then after this was flash forward to June. I know I'm jumping all over
Good.
the I wanted to open up a group where I could have more say in how I taught through mindset first, leading to making better decisions on movement and nutrition. So I launched a 8-week challenge in the Hidden Summit group. It was a free group and it was free to join. It was free to come to the calls and it was free to do everything. And I had a good, 50 people come in, the first month. And I literally on Monday and Tuesday, every other week, I met with all of these people one-on-one just to talk
Wow.
to them. Because New York City was shut down. Everybody was scared. Nothing was open but the supermarket and the liquor store, right?
Yeah.
So how do they go, whether they were at the gyms or not, how do they go from navigating going to class and having the ability to go outside and see their friends to being cooped up in a 3, 4, 5 square 100-foot apartment? So we talked through it and the feedback was phenomenal. So we decided to roll with that. I hosted a mindset huddle on Monday for everybody to attend, a nutrition talk on Tuesday. I continued hosting group workouts and shared different, like we did this 8-week challenge, and that was followed by a mini challenge, and then I got furloughed. So I was like, okay, now I have a decision to make. Like I'm not getting paid for this Hidden Summit thing. I'm just literally giving my time, energy, and effort so people don't go stir crazy in their apartments. And I thought about it. I said, I'm going to go. And I was very much so involved with First Form at this time. So I went out to St. Louis and stayed with a friend for 2 weeks. And I said, if I can get enough people to sign up with me one-on-one and cover my what would be my salary, then I will leave the gyms and I will run with this thing and try and run to the top of the mountain.
Yeah.
And 2 weeks later, I did. I ever said yes. I want to work with you one on one. I want to pay for this group. I want to pay for the programming that you put together. And I had enough people sign up where I called my boss and I said, "Hey, I appreciate the fact that you wanted me to come back, and I love everything that we've done. But if I don't take this opportunity now, I don't know if I'm ever going to do it because I said I wanted to do it 100 times,
Yeah.
but I pulled the trigger because it's fucking scary.
Yeah.
It's terrifying to start your business, and I still have days today where I'm like, "What the hell am I doing?" But you learn how to figure it out along the way, and you realize that it will always work out when you put in that intentionality and effort that is needed and required. So we, if I'm paraphrasing, we then began to grow, and I had clients and I had people who wanted to work and help me. And I was doing a lot of the social media, and I hired a couple of coaches to help with some of the workouts and the calls and the programming. So from 2021 to 2020, from the end of 2020 to beginning of 2021, we had tremendous growth. We went from $0 to like $33,000 month over month recurring.
Hmm.
Great, right? Like people were getting
It's
paid. I was
fantastic.
taking care of my coaches. The community was growing. Everybody was enjoying the time there. And then I came across a business coaching webinar where I sat on it, and I was like, okay, and what am I going to get sold on this thing? I know they're going to pitch something, and I
Yeah.
want the opportunity um, where I bought into a coaching program that was more than what I had. So I financed it, and that taught me a lot along the way. Um, and it worked out really well for the 18 months I was heavily involved, because we were able to learn how to not just optimize the ability to get new leads in, but to nurture the leads that we had and really dive into how to create a team. And we were able to go from, in the first 3 months, then um, from $33,000 a month to our first six-figure month,
Yeah.
which, you know, looking back, was a crazy time when you're like, oh, I kind of feel like I know what I'm doing. And then that happens and you're like, I still have no idea what I'm doing, but we're going to figure this out. And we were in a really good groove for 2021, 2022. And certain things happen in the business. You learn. I go from like being in the trenches and coaching clients to managing the marketing and the operations and payroll, and I'm putting food on people's table now. Like, it's not just about me and the clients and the relationships that we have, but it's about, well, I need to do better every day so I can provide for the people who say they want to be here and continue on this path.
Isn't
Uh,
that insane? I was just talking to Felicity about this because she's starting to, we have enough of kind of like a support and fulfillment team now where she's starting to kind of move more management side, and that was something that I did 6 months ago, where I was moved more out of like client fulfillment and support and everything, and kind of like she took a lot of the reins in support and fulfillment and everything, and I kind of told her, like, as you're making this transition, because she was like, I don't really know, like, feels like I'm not doing as much day to day, but it feels like there's a lot I should be doing, maybe management wise. And I was like, your employees kind of become your clients at that point. Like, you're not doing customer support for the clients, you're doing customer support for the employees. The difference is that you're also, again, like, you're providing for them. You have to make sure that they're good, physically, mentally, financially. You have to always be checking in on, like, it's a very different relationship, and it also, there's just so much more to kind of manage there when you think of like, well, I might have been managing 50 clients, but now I'm managing 5 employees. It's just as much work, if not more, to do that, because there's so much to check. There's so many systems to build. There's so many lines of communication that you have to be on top of. It's a crazy thing. It's a crazy transition.
yeah, I don't think you ever really perfect it.
No,
especially when you're
I
dealing.
haven't at least.
No, I'll be the first to say that I was told by the person I was working with as my business coach to delegate more. And then when you delegate more and you're working, and this is something I learned on an online coaching business where you're on these Zoom meetings and you're talking with people and you close the Zoom meetings, like you do not know what happens after the fact. And I got burned a few times where, screws started to become loose and payroll wasn't going through accurately and had to have tough conversations and had someone delegated to run the coaching coaches program and the ops program and the social media group, and I'm trying to build out new marketing frameworks, and there's a lot of things I would do differently if I ever decided I wanted to build a team of 30 people ever again, which I don't.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which I don't. um, because I do believe that I can do it much better now. I just didn't love the direction that the business started to head, 2023 to 2024, end of 2023, beginning of 2024. The one thing I can say is that if you do run a business with a team of people, I gave my team the ability to believe in themselves, so much so that several of them wanted to start their own business.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that. I think I am a firm believer that there are plenty of people to help, and if people want to do it their own way and they have the instinct to go about that and take it and run with it. It's like I said earlier, it's a terrifying decision, but great, good for you. Go do it. I will support you however I can. However, if you don't have systems in place to replace those people, it gets to be rocky waters really fast.
Yeah.
And that's what happened where I was spinning out as someone who was running a business and everything was going really smoothly to it was not going smoothly at all. And I happened to have booked a trip um, to Paris with Lacey because she always wanted to go there. And I was planning on proposing, and I did, and we got engaged, and it was the happiest day of my life. And with that in mind, we were able to celebrate for a few days. But the day before I was set to come back, I had a panic attack. I was like, I have to come back to a business that I don't love anymore, that's failing, and I have people that need to put food on the table. So I made a decision to allow everybody to take their clients and go
Mm.
because I wanted them to continue to get paid. I wanted them to collect their own payments. I wanted to continue working with the clients that I was working with. And I needed the time to really assess the direction I wanted to take my business, my future moving forward. And dude, I tell you, that was March of 2024, and now we're in June of 2025, and I haven't I figured it out, but I haven't pressed play on it yet. So this
Hmm.
past, 18 months almost has been, or, 12 months plus 15 months. Math is hard at 4:36 on a Wednesday after I traveled yesterday.
Yeah.
Um, I I'm not making $100,000 a month anymore. And I'm okay with that
Hmm.
because I know what is coming is going to impact people the way I originally intended to, as it did in the early days of when I launched Hidden Summit. And that to me is more important than making $100,000 a month.
Mm.
So it's been a very strange time, but a very cathartic time where I've been able to find calm and peace and harmony. I'm less stressed. I'm sleeping better. I've lost 30 pounds. I am training better. I'm surrounding myself with better people who manifest wealth in their lives, and that has helped. So and maybe this is, this guy just popped up on my Instagram page, and I don't know his name because I'm terrible. I don't try not to pay attention to too much information, but like if the context is there, I'll shoot a follow so I can see more of those reminders weekly.
Yeah.
and he coaches 40 plus year olds on lifestyle coach, basically a life coach. And what he was saying resonated with me so much. And I'm not quite 40 yet, got a couple years before we get there, but it's not about showing the world like how much you can make, but showing yourself that you can believe in what you're passionate about and attacking that every day to fill your soul. And
Mm.
I truly believe that the best things in life will come when you're able to do that day in and day out. Now, time will tell, but if I didn't believe it, I probably wouldn't be doing what I'm doing right now anyway. So
Yeah.
that's the long and short of it. That's how we got to where we are today.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's an incredible story, and it's been awesome from my perspective just to see you navigate the things that you navigate, and I think you're a phenomenal leader. I think you act with absolute integrity and kind of how you do handle those things. Not a lot of entrepreneurs would be like, you know what, everybody, I want to care for you guys over me. You guys all take your businesses or your book of clientele and go with that. Um, and so I think it's really cool to see kind of how you navigated all those situations and as you're kind of alluding to, like you can't minimize the fact that you impacted thousands and thousands of lives through that vehicle, through that company. And you've been gearing up, which is kind of what I want to kind of get into next. Since you've kind of transitioned away from Hidden Summit and kind of what that had become, you've been gearing up for this kind of new system, this new vehicle of impact, which is kind of evolving into this book, which I've gotten to kind of watch you work on and finish up. And now as we get ready to launch it here in a few weeks, it's been really cool. So maybe talk a little bit about the book, talk a little about what kind of, the actual name of it is Stay Effing Fit After 30, right? And with that being said, like some of the training philosophies or just philosophies in general that as your audience is aging, what are you kind of carrying into that book that you think people can benefit from?
Absolutely. So stay effing fit after 30 comes
Hmm.
out next month. And I started writing it after I got back from Paris in 2024, probably around June, so a year ago.
Hmm.
And I just started writing one day. I remember the moment I was sitting on my back porch and drinking a cup of coffee, and I just needed to vent, but I didn't want to vent to Lacey or call my brother or a friend. I just wanted to write and type.
Yep.
I just started putting all of these thoughts onto a Google Doc. And before I knew it, 90 minutes went by and I had pages upon pages of just stuff that I felt and what had happened and where I wanted to be. And I thought about it. I said, and I paused. Lacey, left the room and came back, and I said, "Hey, I think I'm going to write a book, and I don't know what it's going to be about exactly, but I think I'm going to tell my story." And I would wake up every day, and writing a book is really hard because, like,
I believe
we
it.
were saying, and we talk about it all the time, like we have an idea and we're really good at starting things, but
Hmm.
finishing something and having the tenacity to do so is challenging for us. So
Yeah.
I was like, I have a great idea. I'm going to write a book. And then we're like, I don't know what chapters I'm going to write or how to like put the chapters together in the right order and what the flow is or what it should look like along the way. But I kept showing up and kept writing and writing and writing. And, I would take a few days off and come back. And I just found that peaceful time in the morning to get that done. And then I stopped for a couple of weeks and I really wanted to think through what I had put pen to paper or fingers to keyboard. And I thought about the coaching industry and what I saw it becoming. And we live in a world where people love automation and instant feedback, and there are scholarships and challenges and quick fixes. Still, they just people are getting better and better at gift wrapping them
Yeah.
to get people to make purchases. And I'm not dissing the entire coaching industry, as you know, as well as I do with some of the people that we work with that and doing this consulting and helping them with lead generation and nurture. There's a lot of good people out there,
Yeah.
but there are a ton of bad eggs out there too. And I wanted to create something that could be a staple, a play by play, a guide, total access to whatever part of your journey that you're in, where you could read through any of the chapters to gain some information and have an action item to take action on, where you can come back and build some more confidence in yourself. And then I thought about, like, who is it that I work with and who is struggling the most right now? I think it's millennials. I think it's millennials who are trying to keep up with these rapid changing technology and like working their way up the ladder at work, and they have kids, and they, what goes first? Their health goes first, because for whatever reason they would do anything to earn a paycheck, but they're not going to go to the gym for 30 minutes 3 times a week so they can take care of their heart.
Yeah.
So then when I had all of those different bullet points, I brought them together and I said, well, now we can create a total access guide, or the only guide you'll need after 30 years old, to truly develop the mindset, the ability to organize, the ability to understand and take action on nutrition, and the ability to follow a program where you don't have to be in the gym for hours upon hours upon hours every single week, learning how to recover along the way, so you can see results happen from now until the day that you're not on this green earth anymore.
Hmm.
That's what I put together with Stay F and Fit, because I wrote it in my voice, right? I'm not this world renowned author. I wanted it to be easy to understand, easy to digest. There's a story, it is story first, with lessons after, and then action items for every single chapter. And yeah, dude, I wrote this as like 260 pages. Like, it's
Yeah.
not like a flip book. It's an actual book you can throw on your bookshelf. I know I am, and when I do, I'm going to be really proud. I'm going to get
Yeah.
emotional.
As you should be.
It's exciting to see that happen. And there's a nutrition example program in there, and how to calculate all of that for yourself and set up a pathway for success with that. There's a workout program in there to show you that you can see real sustainable results without doing anything too crazy long term. That you can, and that's what I've learned along the way. I used to compete and train for 3-4 hours a day, and now I train for 45 to 60 minutes 4 times a week. And like,
Hmm.
I'm down 30 pounds, and I've been beta testing it with my clients, and they're raving about it. So I was like, okay, this is going to be fun. Like, we're going to have a good time sharing this book and the stories in this book over the next several years, to get people invested and give them perspective on how they can continue to do this day in and day out.
I love it. Love it, man. I'm excited to get my hands on a copy. No, I think this is going to be incredible, and I know that you and I have been kind of going back and forth randomly on kind of the book and the book project and things like that, as far as planning how to just get this in people's hands. And I'm really excited for you to take that step and get it there. Is there an official launch date for the book?
No, not yet. It'll be middle of July. So
Okay.
I will, second or third week of July. That's what we're aiming
Okay.
for. There's a
We'll
lot of
have
things
a
outside of my hands right now, but
yeah.
it's coming.
We'll
And
have
to your,
like a waiting list or something in the description. We'll make sure people have that in the description of kind of the video here. Um, I want to you briefly hit on, this is my like weak segue into this, because I just want to kind of openly talk about this with you for a little bit. You hit on like the rapid change in technology. I'm curious with your um, you and I have had a lot of these conversations, but I'm curious with your expertise in the space and how long you've been in the space. What role do you think AI is going to play in the fitness industry moving forward?
I think AI will be a great tool to use in this space, specifically wellness and online coaching.
Hmm.
I believe that there's still a gap between where we are and where we will be with the prompting and accuracy of uh, fitness and nutrition. I think where it will play a profound role is in collecting data, organizing that data, and providing resources as per the individual's unique needs, lifestyle, preferences. That's going to be a huge win.
Yeah.
And I do think that the more information that the myself, for instance, or yourself collects, the more we can then bring to our audience to show that we are still involved.
Hmm.
I think that, and I know you follow Tom Bilyeu, but he posted that he's going to get rid of his YouTube page.
YouTube channel.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which makes him a ton of money every month to prove
Yeah.
a point that going live and creating that, like I mentioned earlier, that sense of community and humanness is what's going to drive the businesses, the brands as a whole.
Is that what he's pivoting towards? Is like YouTube Live?
Yep, that's what I saw.
Gotcha.
Yeah, because I think especially in YouTube, Instagram, and you can tell which posts are captioned AI and which videos are made AI. Right now, you won't be able to do that in 6 to 12 months.
No, you won't at all. And that's his main reason of like, we talked about that controversial take that he had the other day on our social training for coaches. But he's like, personal building a personal brand means nothing in 2025. If you don't already have one, don't try to build one. And it's basically his case was that you're not going to be able to compete with what's coming in a few months, and you don't have much time. You should probably just focus on becoming extremely valuable and becoming kind of a ninja at these tools. So yeah, I mean, I could definitely see the live aspect. The crazy thing is like they already have these AI live, you know, cam people. We'll just say with that you can just interact with, and it simulates some sort of a. I don't know, man. It's a weird spot that we're headed into. I do think there is still a gap. I think there's a lot of ways that coaches can add value to their offers and to their clients by becoming really good at AI. The main thing that I want to avoid is like, I feel like I'm relatively advanced in the AI space, and I'm just saying that compared to our industry.
Right.
But I see stuff every single day from like the actual tech sector that I'm like, oh my gosh, like I know nothing, like know nothing. I'm still in the elementary phase of this stuff. And so what I really hope doesn't happen is like the people that are already like crazy ninjas on the real cutting edge of it don't take a look at the fitness industry and be like, oh, these guys are basically still in the Stone Age. Why don't we create AI fitness products and then just like we can get a ton of market share really fast. I hope that doesn't happen.
Right. So
So
I like I disagree. I think building a personal brand is probably one of the best things that you can do if you are going live and creating community events. Because
yeah,
with all of this instant AI tech that is happening now and will be continuing to come out, I'm a big believer. Maybe I just crave it, but the people I surround myself with crave it too. Is human connection.
no,
So
people do for sure.
yeah. So the goal, with the book, for and I'll circle back to that, is to give you something physical to hold in your hand, so you don't have to go to another course or deal with another automation or like go into AI. Like I want people to start to think again. I want people to start to imagine again. I want people to start to like visualize the life that they want again and question that, to have a conversation with themselves and then a trusted source. So hopefully me, but other people in your corner that can help move you in the right direction, utilizing this technology as a tool. The other side of that is to bring people together, which I've done, I believe, fairly well. You've been to one of my
Yeah,
events. Like I
yeah,
love hosting events, but
absolutely.
more of that regularly, because the idea is that if you can come to one of my events and you understand mindset, you understand nutrition, you understand movement, and then you're able to engage with others who have a like-mindedness to them. The
Hmm.
goal is for you to take all that information that you've absorbed and then bring that back to where it is that you go. So now you can be a spark for others. And that's how we can help the world become healthy. I truly believe that, and that's what my passion is right now. I wasn't able to help my dad when he passed away, and that sits with me every day. He hasn't seen a single thing that I've done here, so it's a driving force for me to continue to show up. But every time, like these type of conversations, even though it's digital, is what I strive for. So like one-on-one connection, one-to-many connection, and then giving the people the ability to think on how to do things versus just be told on how to do things. There's a
Yeah.
vast difference between those two, and I think that will trump AI every time.
Hmm. Yeah, I think people should be looking at it as far as how to bake it into providing enormous amounts of value for the people that choose to pay them, because people are choosing to pay them because of that human connection. Um, and then I think a lot of coaches are going to start to work these types of meetups and events and exclusive calls and things like that into their offers, to because that's what people are going to crave. And that's going to really, the in-person channel or medium of interacting is going to be the only way in 2 years that you're going to be able to actually verify you're not talking to an AI in
Yep.
person. That's it. That's the only way you're going to be able to not fake it. Um, and so I think that's where a lot of the industry is headed, as far as coaches. The market value of coaching might get driven down because of the barrier to entry is going to be so much lower as people figure out AI, and the value that people are providing much easier is going to be so much higher. So it's going to kind of, I think, drive the market value of coaching down. But I think that where coaches can create the most impact and make the most money is going to be organizing these in-person events, getting people in person, driving these deeper connections. And that's also going to help out with retention and relationships. And again, the impact that you're able to create on a one-to-one basis. So it's interesting that you have the same viewpoint. I completely agree with you there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's important for, if you're a coach listening to this now, it's lean into your people more today.
Yeah.
If you're not touching base, if you run a business and you run a coaching business and you're marketing your coaching business and you're not touching base at some point with someone who comes into your system, that's a red flag. And that could be group calls, that could be one-on-one touch bases. Actually physically talk to somebody, not a text message, not a automated voice memo. Like, it doesn't take a lot of effort if you want to continue to see success in your business. And that, because these people idolize you. They're there because they
Mhm.
want to be like you. If you give them a piece of your day, that goes further than any value document that you can send them. And
Yep.
that's my opinion, but I'll stand on that hill. I'll die on it.
Otherwise, you're just another expense that they can justify cutting off or keeping, right? And I mean, we're a software company. 85 to 90% of our customers are just paying for software only. We do 3 community calls a week. People get on average, 4 to 5 touch points. All of our customers get 4 to 5 touch points from us a week, whether that's us actually reaching out and saying, hey, how's everything going? How's business? How are you doing? We check in with them. We even have them kind of fill out check-in forms if they need extra help. We've got essentially 24/7 customer support, because whenever people are their waking hours, 8 to 8, they've got full support via multiple channels. Like, we try to go the full 9 yards, and we're a software company, right? Because what we don't want people to look at is like, I'm looking at my softwares in my company, and like AR, they know me, they know you, they know Mike, they know Felicity, right? They've got faces to put with it. They've got relationships to tie into that business or that quote unquote transaction. And that means something to people, right? Like, they're not going to be able to reach out to they don't know any actual names of employees at Calendly, right? At Typeform. Like, you're not talking to anybody from those companies, but at AR, like, you picture faces, right? You picture actual relationships that you have and look fondly upon. And you have to have that same thing in your coaching business. They came to you for coaching, and if they don't feel like they get close enough to actually have a relationship with you, or if they only interact with you every once in a while via a message or a check-in form, like, that's something that's very easy to cut off, because there's no emotional ties into staying or leaving with you.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
So I love what you're building, man. Love what you're doing. I'm very, very excited for the book. Other than the waiting list that we'll kind of put at the bottom of the description of this video, is there anything that you'd like to kind of call out for people?
Yeah, if you guys don't follow me and you're interested in how to stay fit after 30 and lean into mindset, nutrition, and movement. It's just Cavan TV _ on Instagram. I keep it really real on there as Baker. I mean, at the end of the day,
Hmm.
um, what you see is what you get. I am not perfect over here, but I show up every day. And like I said earlier, I'm enjoying this season that I'm in. And if you're looking to change things up a little bit or get a different perspective, I'd love for you guys to follow along. But stay tuned. We're going to do a launch party, like I said, in the middle of July for this book, where I'll break down the exact systems that are within the book. And I got a couple of giveaways and freebies for you as well. So we'll more to come on that. But I'm always down to have a conversation. I'll send you a voice memo every time you message me on Instagram. So if you have any questions, like I said to Baker earlier before we started recording, I'm an open book. So let's get after it.
It's awesome, man. Cavan, you're a great dude, and I appreciate you taking time in your busy schedule to be here, man.
Glad we were able to figure it out. We'll do it again sometime.
All right, bud. See ya.
See ya.